6%? 7%? That's a lot of money. I might as well just do it myself. Well, that might be true, if a lot of that money you're paying a real estate broker is going toward outdated methods, unnecessary fancy offices, and overpaying executives for a lifetime of service. But you don't need to go that route. Silver Compass Realty is a full-service real estate brokerage serving all of South Central Wisconsin, and the commission is negotiable. Silver Compass will explain exactly what they're going to do to help you buy or sell a home, how that will help you reach your goals, and stand right beside you every step of the way. They want to be your broker, your expert, even when you're not in the middle of a transaction. Silver Compass Realty, helping you find your way home. Contact them today at silvercompassrealty.com or call 608-361-8608. Silver Compass Realty, helping you find your way home.
Burger House 41 is open at 1860 West Mason in Green Bay. You're invited to indulge in one of life's simplest pleasures, a great burger. We're grilling up 15 fresh signature burgers and have over 30 craft beers for the perfect pairing. Experience Wisconsin's best flavors, including white cheddar cheese curds, a variety of specialty sandwiches, milkshakes, and gourmet frozen custard. Burger House 41 at 1860 West Mason is open at 11 a.m. daily. Taste Wisconsin. Taste amazing.
Would you like to experience being one of the free people who produce their own meat and eggs? PurelyPoultry.com has both the chickens and supplies you need to raise your own poultry.
Would you like pets who produce eggs you can barter with? Your own source of clean meat?
A swan on your pond to make your home strikingly beautiful?
How about some pheasants and quail roaming in your woods for enjoyment? If so, check out PurelyPoultry.com.
Welcome back to the Free People Show at freepeopleshow.com. If you're just watching on Facebook, that's all well and good, but you should go to our website because Dustin Dryfurst, who is our show webmaster, and who I think now is the District 8 representative to the Libertarian Party of Wisconsin Executive Committee, or he's the alternate, I'm not sure. I think he's the primary. Samuel's whispering alternate to me, but I don't know. He and Bill Jacobson are pretty much joined at the hip anyway. But at any rate, he's worked very hard on the website, and I would like to point out to you that that's where we're running the show through. The Facebook feed is an ad to that. We'll continue to do it, but we really want to send people to the website because that's where you're going to get most information about the show, find out about all the sponsors that we have, and ways that you can support the show. So please go to freepeopleshow.com if you haven't been there already. Welcome back again to our co-host Miles, our guest Chris Kressner. And Miles was telling us during the break about... Or was it before the break? No, it was before the break,
about
actually.
The Large Hadron Collider theory?
Let's talk about the collider and see where that takes us.
Well, it's something.
And Chris is an engineer; he might know something about that.
Well, no, it's somewhat of a joke. I've been saying to some of my friends that, like, if the Big Bang was actually caused by the Large Hadron Collider, and that the whole entire universe is just a Mobius where we keep running the same experiences again and again. But then again, that would get to the chicken versus the egg theory. But that's a whole nother, who know? I mean, who knows? In the end, that's why you have to have faith in something because, could there be other dimensions, or could we have been started? Could this planet have been started in a way that we don't even know about? I don't know. That's why I have this little bit of a agnostic feeling, but I do feel that there was a creator of something. Like this was all designed in some sort of way. Well, at least, which is very unpopular thought on college campuses. I'm sure.
Well, at least one of the things that Eastern Christianity differs from Western, meaning Catholicism and Protestants, and that is that we still have a profound appreciation for mysteries. One of the in the process of Western civilization developing, they basically, sort of came up with the paradigm that things need to make sense to the human mind, otherwise they can't possibly be true. So that made the Catholic Church make some changes in doctrines that they had inherited from in the first millennium when the whole church was together, where they could, where Pope's infallibility and Immaculate Conception and a variety of other things crept into Western thought. And whereas in Eastern Christianity, we did not have the benefit or curse of that same development. So we still believe that, things can happen and just be unsolvable by the human mind, and we just accept it that way. We call it a mystery. So in Western Christianity, there are sacraments. In Eastern Christianity, they're mysteries. We don't know how the world was created. We don't know how in our understanding, Jesus Christ was both God and man, fully at the same time, or how it can be bread and wine, body and blood at the same time. We just accept it because we believe in a God that's outside of all that. And I think that's where people can validly critique all of Western Christianity, because they've sort of suborned it to the human mind. And once you say, well, I don't understand it, so it can't be true, or I can't prove it, so it can't be true, you're excluding the possibility of anything outside of your ability to understand it. And that you basically made the human mind a god over God, over any understanding of God, rather than just letting God be above it somewhere. And as you mentioned, being like, we don't know. We don't know.
I went to Catholic school as a child for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in kindergarten, they would always tell us, they would start reading us Genesis, and they'd be like, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I would, as a child, I would go, who created God? And they're like, no, don't ask that question. And then I was just, that's probably where I started my tangent of really, critical thinking started at age 4 or 5.
Well, there's some really good questions in Genesis, like, Adam's descendants, just 3 or 4 generations down, went off and married giants or something. I forget where it's at in Genesis. But there's a lot to be, said for not taking that 100% literally. But
the giants thing is real. I'm not even. No, they're
where did they
skeletons.
come from? Well, one of the things I think that atheists have, one possible thing is that our whole Earth was started, like there was aliens came down and started it. Somebody from somewhere else started it.
But you can't even have that theory without it accidentally getting tied in with Scientologists, because I think
is that what they believe?
Huh?
Scientologists believe that aliens started our planet?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, no, they are. I think Scientology is the one group that like every religion can look at and say, you're crazy. I mean, Jehovah's and Mormons would just look at that and be like, that's messed up. Like, it was made up by a science fiction writer who, I mean,
know what?
that's
If
a whole...
Scientologists want to join the Libertarian Party, I'm going to say, welcome, come on in.
Yeah. Pay your dues.
We have a big tent, folks.
Grab a shovel and get digging. No, I agree. I agree. That's
seriously,
which I think is the beautiful thing
yes.
of it. And we're talking.
Oh no,
about,
they already have. They have their own political thing out on the West Coast, and
yeah, I don't know if there's any. I'd like to know if anyone's watching or
what. Just watch South Park.
Are there any Scientologist libertarians? I'd like to know.
I don't think so.
'Cause I don't really understand. No, Samuel's raising his hand. No, obviously not him. But Chris, you make an excellent point. We are the biggest of tents, really, because there's very few things that you need to adhere to be a libertarian. And the Libertarian Party is constantly in conflict. Not only do we have a lot of that in the next couple of years, or last couple of years in the Libertarian Party in Wisconsin, but nationally there's differences between people who are anarchists and minarchists, or radicals and pragmatists, and
thick versus thin.
Thick versus thin. You don't necessarily, although I think necessarily, but you don't necessarily have to look at the economy through an Austrian's eyes to be a libertarian. I think that makes the most sense, but there's a lot of diversity out there because our principles are very basic, right? What's the basic one?
The non-aggression principle.
And as long as you believe that people have certain things that belong to them, and you can't take them and you can't infringe on them, then and you're willing to like agree that as long as they don't mess with you, you won't mess with them. That's pretty much it.
According to the rally me and several of the people from the local Libertarian Party went to this week, capitalism is violence. Private property is theft, or private property is violence.
It was really they have it all
absurd.
Backwards.
We had some very nice discussions with some of the people there, and it was crazy because there were so many people there from so many different angles, and it got weird.
Yeah, and it was a protest against Steve Forbes' speech, right? Which I heard was good. I didn't listen to it.
But they were just going to this extreme of like, Steve Forbes is a white nationalist, fascist. It's like, I don't agree with Steve Forbes. I don't like Steve.
But he's not a nationalist. He's all over the world.
Steve, isn't that Steve Bannon?
Yeah, I mean
that's the guy.
That would be a
he's a little
different
questionable.
Story,
but yeah, I mean they just throw these names out there.
But it's like, don't go to that extreme unless that extreme is deserved, and it's like, because there are those people that exist, So don't just go throwing out fascist to anybody.
Yeah, that's another problem with education, and I'm not necessarily public education. They don't get economics and like decent math
or critical thinking,
but they argue in ways that's like all over the place. They don't understand like red herrings or straw men or ad hominems or confirmation bias. My son does, but he didn't learn it in school. But he did learn it in school.
Or quantitative easing.
Oh, logical fallacies. They did get it in Verona, but that's a rich school district. They probably don't teach that in Madison.
It's kind of funny. As we've been talking, I've kind of discovered or thought a little bit about a common thread that I see that goes through the three topics that we've been talking about.
Other than you being the guest for all three.
Yes. Yeah, well, at least
I'm
for
just
me
teasing.
personally. I mean,
right.
When I look at my technical background,
Mm-hmm.
when I look at my religious faith, and when I look at my philosophical leanings with regard to politics,
Mm-hmm.
there's kind of a common theme, and that is trying to be honest and straightforward. You know, as an engineer, I have to build a system or design a system that either works or it doesn't. And I'm not going to try to spin it. I'm going to, just get the work done.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to our religion, we tell people what we believe. This is what we believe about Jesus Christ. This is what we don't believe. We're going to church. If you want to come, you can. If you don't, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to liberty, we don't get out there and try to bend over backwards trying to be 8 million different things to 6 million different people and mealy-mouthed and catering to lobbyists and this and that and the other thing. You've said it yourself before. A libertarian candidate is a horrible investment for
and that's
like
that's
a
not my
private
excuse
donor.
for not raising money. That's true.
Right. So I mean, it's we're going to tell you that interventionist foreign policy is a bad idea, and we're not going to try to cook up excuses for why we need to go invade some country and spend hundreds of billions of dollars doing it.
So I think we've come to the very bottom of sort of unintentionally, you've come up with the answer to the question in the beginning, which we started off with and didn't cover very well, is why are engineers attracted to libertarianism? And it's because libertarianism doesn't have extra stuff that's manipulated for people to have power over each other.
Right. And
it's what's the most efficient way of people being happy and prosperous without any extra junk that makes things go wrong or screws people up.
Right. If you look at the supreme law of the land, it's the U.S. Constitution. Is it perfect? No, but it is a good rallying point, I believe, that you can get a lot of people to buy into, at least the Bill of Rights. I mean, you can talk to Democrats, Republicans, whatever. This document is relatively simple. You look at something like the Affordable Care Act, it's like, 2,200 pages? It's like, come on.
It doesn't need to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. We just need to set up a framework that allows reasonable people to interact with each other, have transactions, interactions, and what have you, and set up their own system or systems on how to govern themselves.
Yeah, at the lowest possible level. That's what Patrick would say. He's a federalist.
Voluntarily.
So
Not
if there has to be
mandatory.
government, which I don't necessarily believe there does, but if you believe there does have to be government, then it should be at the lowest possible level to solve a problem. If it's a statewide problem, well, maybe there needs to be a state government to help, voluntary state government to help solve that problem. But if it's something just local, like should our community regulate taxi companies or Uber or Lyft, then if that's decided at the city county building instead of the state capitol building or in Washington, D.C., then you can go down there and you can show up to a city council meeting and you can yell at Mayor Soglin and he'll yell back. Well, he won't yell back. He'll just kind of make a face. And
He doesn't go to city council meetings.
well, sure he does.
I can't think of a single... I mean,
He does. But,
once in a great while.
Well, let's say there's a hearing on it and he's there and he'll just sit there and he'll pretend like he's so much smarter and he's been mayor 3 times and it's super annoying. But you can go, at least you have some a possibility to influence that. You could talk to your alder and they only represent your neighborhood and the surrounding area. You can get stuff done. You can protest. The Libertarian Party of Dane County had a protest against his treatment of homeless people last year. 2 different protests. And that was very effective. So, yeah, Chris, I think you nailed it on the head. So that's it for tonight. Unfortunately, we probably could have gone longer because we had a lot to talk about. But thanks very much for joining us tonight, Chris Kressner, engineer, libertarian, Uber driver, Orthodox Christian. Thanks to Miles Kristen for co-hosting tonight. And thanks to everyone who supported the show. Thanks for watching on Facebook. We'll be back again next Tuesday. We're going to have in the next couple of weeks a student activist on, and one of our members who's also a very big gun rights person and who also happens to be visually impaired. We'll cover all that and more, but watch us. Pay attention to what's coming up on Free People Show at freepeopleshow.com. We will see you next week. Thanks so much for being with us.